I'm going to wait a little bit and let people show up here. Actually, you know what? Well, I'm gonna let people show up here, so we're good. I was going to do it backwards. It doesn't matter. We're good. Okay. I'm going to be telling stories about when I was a zoo docent, but I'd like to wait till a few people show up to chat. And I've got to get into my computer. My computer is over here, and I'm going to be able to talk to you and chat over here. So that's exciting to me. I'm going to be able to talk to you. Gotta turn down my volume. There we go. I think. I haven't really done a lot of these videos, so I'm still learning. Asthma. If you know me, you know I have asthma. I apologize. I've used my inhaler today, but I still have asthma. So I do cough. I do clear my throat. I apologize. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit closer so there's not quite so much going on behind me. There we go. I have somebody in chat. Hey, where are you? Where are you chatting from? Go ahead and let me know, unless you want to duck out real fast. But I'm going to be telling stories about when I was a volunteer zoo docent. I've got at least 3 stories to tell. One involves blood, one involves urine, and one involves an alligator. So if you want to hear some zoo docent stories, stay here. And I will be looking at the chat. Let me just come over here. It's hard to get used to going back and forth from a phone to a computer because I don't know how to make things move on my computer. I'm used to handling everything on my phone screen, so a lot of times I'll reach for my computer screen and try to change things. 3 people, cool. I'm waiting till there are a few more. I'm going to be telling zoo docent stories. I was a volunteer docent at a zoo many years ago, back before I had to start, before it went totally gray, or whatever color you call this, taupe. I think it might be taupe. That'd be funny if they, on a casting notice, you know, they want to have a certain color hair. They want to know what color your hair is. If I put taupe, because it's not a choice, it would have to be other. And I think other, these days, they would expect like purple or pink or green, something like that. And mine would be taupe, because I'm not gray. Look at me. I'm not gray. I was brown with blonde highlights naturally, and now I'm taupe. Very boring. All right, there are 11 people in here. Hello, tell me where you're from. Let me know. I'm in Northeast Tennessee, and you might notice I've got some wristbands on. Hello, Ashwin. Nice to see you. Hello, Last Saxon. UK, cool. Love my UK people. I've been to London a few times, mostly flying in and then flying out. But I've also been to, starts with a U. It's near a US Air Force base. I think in the middle of the country, maybe a little bit higher up in England than the center. Anyway, I've been to the Dover, the cliffs of Dover, and been around. I rode the train around a lot. Jake. Paisley, I'm doing great. Are you guys ready to hear? Hey, Romeo. Are you guys ready to hear a few docent stories? I'm so excited. Let me just type in the chat. I've got my hot coffee. I have not been to Israel. A lot of my friends have been to Israel. Okay. Set a few ground rules. I don't play games. I don't show my feet. I don't do fetishes, things like that. You can see me, so you don't have to ask, what do you look like? Okay. I am an artist, mostly theater, film, television, things like that. But I also write plays and skits. I have a few published books on Amazon, stuff like that. WWE, Romeo, no, I have not watched WWE. Answer me a question. Is there a new gal in the WWE called The Undertaker? Because I'm going to support her. Ashwin, you're from India. Good deal. No, I haven't been to India either. Not that you asked. Hey, thank you for the, are those hearts? Or 100%? Are those 100% that just flew up? I can't tell. Yeah, Undertaker. Not the guy. I think he's retired. There's a woman in there now who's an Undertaker. And she actually was in college. She wanted to be an Undertaker. She wanted to work in a morgue. That was her deal. That's why it was so cool that she got into WWE. She is built like a brick wall. She's amazing. And I used to watch her when she was in college, in university. She was NCAA athlete in, I can't remember the name of the sport, but it's like tumbling and acrobatics. It's very, very physical. And she was like the gal at the bottom of the pyramid. So she has massive shoulders. And I guess she's just the sweetest thing. So now she was going to be getting into WWE. So good for her while she can, because at some point she's probably going to have to retire. All right. You guys are here probably to hear some zoo docent stories. So I will tell the first one involving blood. How many are there? 12 of you in here. Thank you for the 3 that have given me a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. So does your chatting. Helps the algorithm. So I'll just type in here. The first story is blood. Oops, I accidentally hit the all caps. Okay. As a volunteer docent at the zoo, because I had experience teaching, they offered me the opportunity to do birthday parties and tours with classrooms and parties. So if you had a birthday party, it was in one building. And then after the initial part of the party was done, then I would take you over to the zoo and give you a tour of the zoo. Part of the party was, you know, your mom and dad brought a birthday cake and food and drinks and all that stuff. But I gave a presentation with wild animals. Romeo has a question. Go ahead and ask. And I'll try to remember where I was. I'll pause. I'll freeze. Ask your question, Romeo. Are you typing it? I hope so. Come on, type it. I need to get a microphone. I need one of those little clip-on microphones. Area 51, it's a part of, I think, the Arizona desert where the United States used to conduct a lot of secret testing, military and other stuff. That's really, I don't really know much about Area 51. It's still very closely guarded. They don't like you showing up there. Adubias. Okay. All right. So I did presentations. I probably had a bird of prey. An owl, most likely. It might have been a hawk. I don't remember, because I worked with another organization as a volunteer educator, and I would travel around to schools and libraries and things like that. That's why the zoo wanted me to do their teaching, or to do their parties and give tours, because I had experience working with groups of children. So it was some kind of a raptor. Now, when I did it in the schools, I had a great horned owl and other animals. But at the zoo, I probably had a raptor of some sort. I had a hedgehog. Hey, ma'am, what are we doing in this live today? Hey, Cherry, I'm talking about zoo docent stories. I have one about blood, one about urine, and one involving an alligator. So we're starting off with blood. So I had this group of children. I don't remember if it was a birthday party or a classroom, but there were a lot of children sitting out in front of me. And I had all my animals, and I had a corn snake. I don't remember her name, but she was a little bit moody. And the hedgehog was in its little carrier, pardon me, asthma. And the snake was in her aquarium/terrarium. So I reached in to take out the snake, and she was in a mood. And she reached up and she bit me right about here. Corn snakes aren't poisonous. There's no poison in them. They're very safe snakes. But they do have little tiny razor sharp teeth like objects. I don't know if they're actually considered teeth, but they're very, very sharp. So this snake bit me right about here. Didn't hurt. Didn't hurt at all. Just bam, and I just went, oh, she's a little bit feisty. Took her out, was talking and giving my little spiel about the snake. And the faces on the kids sitting in front of me were terror. Like, they were terrified. I just assumed they were afraid because I was holding a snake, and a lot of kids are raised to be afraid of snakes, which is kind of okay. You don't really want a child finding a viper. And we were in a part of the country where there were a lot of vipers, and you don't want your children out there playing with snakes. Hello, Derek. Skydive into a volcano. Thank you, Ryan. An active volcano? No, thank you. I would skydive off of a volcano in order to get away from the lava. I played lava as a kid, so I know how dangerous lava is. I've also walked through very hot lava tubes in Hawaii. I know they're very hot. Anyway, I'm giving my presentation. At some point, one of the adults there, one of the parents or teachers, said to me, your arm, and where she had bit me, there was blood running down my arm all the way to my elbow. That's why the children were terrified. It's possible they all thought I was going to die because it probably looked like a lot of blood just running, because I was holding the snake and then I reached in and I grabbed, I'm left-handed, so any downward stuff was with my left hand and all the up stuff was with my right hand. Anyway, blood running down my arm. So poor kids. Someone brought me a tissue or a napkin or something, and I was able to wipe my arm and continue, but I needed a Band-Aid, really. I needed a Band-Aid. I don't remember if somebody brought me a Band-Aid. But I finished that and I took them on their tour, and I traumatized, I don't know, 20 kids that day. And some of them are adults now because that was 25 years ago. All of them are adults right now, every single one of them. Hello, Callian. I'm doing great. Okay, so we've done blood. Now let's do, my cap lock's on again. Let's do urine. Okay. So one day I was just hanging out at the zoo in my docent vest. I had been doing something, but I was done with it. I might have been working in the petting zoo. I don't know what I was doing, but I was there in volunteer capacity, but at the time I wasn't actually working with any kids. And there was a classroom there. And they were off to, it looks like I'm showing my left, but they were off to my right. And we were at the jaguar enclosure. Hello, thank you for loving me. That's sweet. And my German friend, hello, I do not speak German. I apologize. I should. I've got enough German genes in me. Anyway, I was at the leopard enclosure, and they were actually up above. They had a catwalk, literally, right? It was in the cat enclosure. And they were up on the catwalk. And I was new enough that I didn't know that this particular male jaguar liked to do what he did. The classroom was off to my right, kindergartners, maybe first grade, very small children. And they were looking at the jaguars, and the docent was giving them a story, telling them all about it. And I was standing there just looking at the jaguar, not thinking anything of it. As it backed up to the edge of the enclosure up above me, I got a golden shower. I got rained on, and it wasn't raining. I got covered in urine from a jaguar, not a car, a cat, in front of 15, 20 children. They may not have realized what happened, but the adults did. I did. I went home. I went home and took a shower. I did it all. I did the whole thing. Everything gone. Clothes into the wash, the whole thing. I got pissed on by a jaguar. So, Please know, I'm not just telling you this for myself. I'm telling you this to warn you. If you're at a zoo and a cat backs up, or a monkey, monkeys are pretty creepy with their poopies and their peepees. But if a cat backs up, he or she is getting ready to piss. Yeah, that was awesome. So we've done blood and we've done urine. I have food in my teeth. Oh, it's tooth colored. I wonder what that was. Oh, it was pork. I had a bowl of pork. My husband makes smoked pork. I can't eat the sandwich part of it because I'm gluten-free, but I eat the meat. Good stuff. Should have probably just eaten it, huh? It's good stuff. Anyway, so now let's talk about the alligator. We had a huge gator. I mean, we had two gators, but one was huge. And they were in a water, you can't see me putting my arms out really big. They were in a pond, but it wasn't huge. It was about the size of the average living room. And it was divided down the middle. And on one side were the alligators. They had water and they also had a place where they could go outside the water. It was a very small zoo and they didn't have a lot of space. So the two alligators had a fairly small enclosure. And I think the smaller alligator might have been kind of a bully because the bigger one didn't want to be around it at all. Also, they had about a 3-foot fence around the alligators. If you know anything about alligators, you know they can jump a 3-foot fence. You wouldn't think so, but they can. They're actually very athletic for what they are. Which zoo location? It was in Atascadero, California, the Charles Paddock Zoo in Atascadero, California. Great little zoo, a lot of fun. Anyway, on the other side of the pond were flamingos. And I thought about this the other day. We never had any egg activity, no nest building. They probably didn't have the ability to build nests, but we had probably 10 flamingos on the other half. So we have alligators on the left side, flamingos on the right side, unless you're looking at me backwards. So I'll say alligators on the left side, flamingos on the right side. Every morning when we came in, that big alligator was in with the flamingos. Never ate them, never bothered them, just didn't want to be there. Let me see, I'm going to read what the last Saxon said. He says, when I was a little boy at Chester Zoo, a monkey pooed in its hand and smeared it all over the glass at me. Then a very depressed-looking cleaner sighed as he picked up his bucket and wiper. Monkeys like to play with their poo. They like to share it with people too. Sometimes they'll just reach back and pull it and throw it at people. That's what our monkeys did. I never saw that happen. So every morning, that big alligator would be in with the flamingos. Never ate them, never harassed them, just didn't like being with the smaller alligator. That's why I think the smaller one was kind of a bully, because the big one wanted nothing to do with it. So we have talked about, hello again, Derek. We have talked about, hello, Julio, blood, urine, the last Saxon's experience with monkey poo, and my experience with the alligator that jumped over every day. Hi, Lunatic. Hey, I had a horse named Luna, and we called her Lunatic because she was crazy. She was an Appaloosa. I always wanted an Appaloosa. One day, my godbrother's mother, my godmother, called me and said, hey, my granddaughter got a horse. She can't ride because she's crazy. The horse, not the daughter, granddaughter. Granddaughter was a sweetheart. Can you take it? She knew we had property and donkeys, and I always wanted an Appaloosa. She had no idea. So we went and got this Appaloosa. That thing was a powder keg. Julio, you were thinking the opposite what, sweetie? That the big one was a bully? Yes, Kellyanne, I'm having decaffeinated coffee. Yes, with lots of milk in it because I don't like regular coffee. I like to dress it up. I like to dress it up. Dress it up, take it out on a date. Hey, I put makeup on for y'all. I want you to know that. I hate that this is all backwards. I meant to do it all facing forward. My daughter bought this for me, Clinique. I'm not endorsing it with a paid endorsement. I'm just showing you. I am 100% makeup illiterate. I don't know how to do makeup. I only have professionals do my makeup if I'm going to be on screen. Look at that. It's awesome. It's perfect. And I'm allergic to a lot of things. This is the first and only anything that I put on my lips as far as lipstick or chapstick or anything that doesn't give me a sore throat. So I like that. It has a missing ingredient that all the other ones have in them. It gives me a sore throat. Okay, so we talked about monkey poo. Let me think of another, if we have any more. My dog's lying on top of my air conditioning vent because it's hot today. She likes to lie on top of it and get cooled off. Kona coffee with Biscoff. What is Biscoff, William? Oh, the flamingo and the alligators. Would you think that the flamingos would go in with the alligators? I don't know that they enjoyed that little visitor that came every single morning. Maybe they did. There was never any drama. But yeah, he jumped that fence and went over into with them. That's crazy. I was thinking about it's a very small zoo. They had a bunch of lemurs. I loved the lemurs. If I could have a pet lemur and treat it right, I would rather they lived in the wild. But if I used to do wildlife rehabilitation, and so I would take in wildlife that other people had raised, and then I would try to make it wild again so I could release it, or turn it over to an education program if it couldn't be released. I would love to have somebody's failed lemur and just give it a really good life. Of course, they like to have more than one, so I'd probably have to have 2 or 3. Lemurs are awesome. And our zoo had a nice little lemur enclosure, considering what it was. A high-class cookie. Biscoff. Okay. You love my hair. Melvin Lord, thank you so much. I love my hair too. I cut it myself, and you can probably see if you're a hair cutting person. I was trying to remember today when the last time I got my hair cut by a professional was. Probably 20 years ago, because I went in to get it cut and I told her to take 2 inches off of my hair, because I do work as an actress and a model, and I have headshots, and I have to look like my headshots. I can't get a whole bunch done. I have to look like my headshots. So I said 2 inches, please. And by the time I left, she had taken off 10 inches, and I couldn't afford new headshots, so I just didn't work for a while. It was awful, awful. A high-class cookie, awesome. I used to color my hair. I stopped coloring my hair because I got tired of having roots show all of the time. What about, I don't know what that means, cynical pineapple? No, yeah, cynical pineapple. Julio, my hair is thick. I have a lot of it, but I just had anesthesia about 2 weeks ago, and I think I've lost half of my hair. I've been pulling hair out. It's been falling out. It's chasing me around the house. I'm finding it all over the floor. When I vacuum, my vacuum is full of hair. It's in my car. It's in our RV. I find it everywhere because every time I have anesthesia, I'm not exaggerating, I lose a lot of hair, probably not half of my hair, but I was just curling my hair yesterday because it wasn't super humid, so it would actually stay. And I realized, oh my goodness, I think I'm missing a lot of hair. Anyway, what else can we talk about as far as the zoo goes? I think we're kind of done. There are 14 of you. Thank you to the 6 who have hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it. I will tell you, I don't usually do lives. I try to do 1 or 2 a week. I used to do lives at the drag races, and I'm not talking about men in dresses and wigs running in high heels. I go to motorcycle and car and dragster races, and I used to go live at them, but oh, my hair's driving me crazy. I need to take about a half an inch off my bangs. They're getting in my eyes. They're bothering me. Gibbons are cool. Absolutely, William Barry, they are. I don't like the idea of taking anything out of the wild unless it's to help it get healthy again and then re-release it into the wild. Melvin, I do ride a motorcycle. We have 6 Harleys, and I think we have 6. We might have 7. I haven't counted in a while. And we have several Hondas. But yes, I rode a Harley on a trip once. I think it was like 6,500 miles, something like that. Left the central coast of California, rode over to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then rode back west through South Dakota, Idaho, up into Washington, went up into Canada, and then rode down the west coast to Central California again. I do not have a Ducati. Those are gorgeous, gorgeous motorcycles. Here, Nitro. Yes, William. Nitro makes my heart stop. And I try to videotape them. In fact, I have a short video of top fuel rider Samu. I wish I could pronounce his last name. I have to read it very slowly. He is from Finland, and he won, and I got his race where he won. I can't remember where we were. We might have been in Michigan. We travel all over the eastern United States and into the south. I think as far southwest I've been from here was Louisiana. Can't remember the name of the drag strip down there, real close to New Orleans. We were there a few months ago, maybe. Stopped in Mississippi at, oh my gosh. There's a couple, they do home renovations and they have a TV show on either HGTV or one of the other ones. Admiral Kirk, don't be a jerk. Hey, I made a rhyme. Anyway, where was I on that one? And then we've been up to Michigan. I've been to Illinois. I haven't been to any drag races up in Maryland, but I've been to North and South Carolina, Kentucky, Bowling Green, Kentucky, Tennessee, of course. I'm here right now in Tennessee. The painting behind me, I think it's an ink sketch. It's 100 years old plus, and it's super oxidized, which is unfortunate. I love it. We've got another one that's bigger. We've got 2 more, actually. I don't know where one of them is, but we have one that's bigger that used to be above my fireplace, but we just took it down yesterday. We got another picture in, and we put that up. So, Melvin Lord, do you still like it? William Barry, the Nitro bikes are crazy loud, but do you agree it hits your chest and kind of makes your heart stop? It scares me. Like my stomach jumps, everything jumps, and I'll be recording and I jump so much that I think, oh, that must have shown up in my recording because it terrified me, even though I knew it was coming. And then I go back and look at my recording and you can't really tell that it hit me so hard. Sound hits you. You wouldn't think it does. It really does hit you. Okay. Thank you, Melvin Lord. That was actually from my husband's grandmother. He inherited her estate, and she had those. You think so, William Lynn? You think that's a 1915? It could be. I forget. I looked them up years ago just because I didn't know what they were. I don't know if they're original or if they're probably prints. I mean, honestly, nobody does originals, right? Nobody sells originals. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I used to know more about it than I do. Like 20 years ago when I looked it up, I knew all about it. And the other one is on the floor over there. You can't see it. And I'm not going to show you because there's I'll say a small pile of Amazon deliveries over there. Over there. My husband's been gone for a week, and it looks like Christmas in my living room. So I'm not going to show you that because there's a lot of stuff over there he has to go through. He gets a lot of things online. All right, so the zoo stories are over with. We have 6 people in here, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Most of my content lately has been junior dragsters because the junior dragster racing leagues Eastern Conference finals have been going on at the Bristol Motor Speedway, Thunder Valley Dragway. So I've been doing that. Yes, William Barry, they definitely do. I was behind a funny car. I don't know if it was Ron Capps. It might have been Ron Capps. And his crew was working on it in the pits. And there was an elderly gentleman. I'm in my 60s. I'm going to say he was probably in his 70s. And he was right behind it in the pits, standing there, either taking pictures or video with his cell phone. And they cracked the throttle. He jumped back. I'm surprised he didn't like fall down and break a hip. He jumped back and he like grabbed his chest, and everybody around him just busted up laughing. He eventually laughed once he got his breath back, but that was it was loud. I wish I had been recording just because it would have been really funny to catch that. Let me see what's going on in chat. Can you show us, please? Kellyanne, show you the picture? No, I'm not going to. There's a pile of junk over there. It's in some of my other videos because it used to be above my fireplace just until yesterday. So it's in some of my other videos. Let's see, who else in here? So what has been your craziest experience riding a bike? I think we were in Kansas City, Missouri. We were heading east. It was on the trip where we rode out to Milwaukee. It was a whole group of people. And this is one of the reasons I don't like riding with a group of riders. Usually when I rode with a group of riders, the person in front of me, because you're staggered, you've got the first rider, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. I think I was number 6, and there were about 20 of us in the formation. Speed limit was 70. We were on the highway. It was very cold. Was it cold? No, I had ice. That's right. I had a bottle of ice, a frozen water bottle in my cup holder because we were on a long trip. So I have a cup holder on my handlebars so I can drink as we're riding because it's hot. Anyway, the person in front of me didn't warn me that there was a pothole, and we were in formation, and I think it was the only pothole. We were on the Kansas side. It was the only pothole in Kansas, going 70 miles an hour. I hit it, boom. My water bottle flew up. I somehow caught it, was able to maintain my speed pretty much, didn't wobble the bike too much. The guy behind me said he thought I was going to wreck right there. I was able to get a hold of my water bottle, put it back in my cup holder, and continue on the trip. The problem was I broke something in my pelvis when I hit that pothole, and I had to ride from Kansas to Milwaukee and then across the northern part of the country and up into Canada and then down the west coast. I never did go to the doctor and get x-rays. I knew I cracked, hi Jose, I knew I cracked something in my pelvis. It hurt for 3 years. 2 years into it, I rode my motorcycle to work. I was working as a teacher. And I hit a freaking pothole and re-injured my pelvis. I hated that motorcycle. After that, I stole one of my husband's motorcycles that was more comfortable, had a better seat. And I sold mine. I didn't want it anymore. I stole his. He had one other one, I think, at the time. Now he's got a lot. Got a lot of motorcycles. Okay, let me see what I've got here. So that was my craziest experience, Melvin. I mean, I've had people try to kill me in Denver. It's like a 14-lane freeway going through Denver. 14 lanes, 7 going this way and 7 going this way. And I was in the number 4 lane, I think. And some guy in a big jacked up truck came up next to me. I can't see my hand. came up next to me and then just started going into me. He was going fast. We were going 70 to 75. And I didn't want to go through Denver. There was like a raise your hand if you want to go through Denver thing. And the Denver people won. My hand was don't go through Denver. But that's because a group of motorcycles can all get pulled over by the highway patrol or the police, whatever, and given a ticket for noise. Because they can, if you're riding in formation and there's 20 of you and you make too much noise, they'll give every single motorcyclist a ticket. And so I didn't want to experience that. So my husband was behind me. And when this guy came up next to me, I could hear it and I could feel it. But I had looked over my left shoulder because I was going to merge into the lane. I was going from the slow lane to the fast lane. So I was in the number 4 and I was going to, or I was in the number 5. I was in the number 5 lane. I was going to merge over to the number 6 lane. So I looked over my shoulder. There was nobody there. I put my blinker on and I started merging and I heard this roar and I felt this wave of energy. And I looked and the truck was right there and he was coming over into my lane. So I was able to move over. My husband right behind me put his head down because he thought I was going to get killed right in front of him. And I honestly believe I was saved. I honestly believe that God saved me that day from that truck because I was getting ready to turn left. And I know there was energy in him. He was probably going over 100 miles an hour, and he was trying to get to the off-ramp less than a quarter mile down the road. Instead of just going into one of the slow lanes, he decided to almost murder me on the highway. We went a few miles, and then we pulled over because everyone in front of me, nobody knew what happened. Everyone behind me thought I was going to be killed in front of them. And at that point, I think I was the only woman on my own motorcycle. Eventually, I think we picked up a group of people that had a woman rider with them. But at that point, I was the only woman on my own bike. So we pulled over and one of the guys, sweetheart, he was on a trike. That's a 3-wheeled motorcycle. It's got 1 in the front and 2 in the back. And he said to me, he goes, if that guy would have run you over, he says, I would have followed him and I would have shot him. No one messes with my friends kind of a thing. But I would have followed him. I would have shot him. He took the airport off-ramp. So maybe he was going to miss his flight, and he decided that this little motorcycle rider didn't really matter. But he cut between me and the motorcycle in front of me and almost took me out. So that was wild. That was another wild one. And I know there was another one that was pretty wild. Well, riding through the desert at night, because it's too hot during the day. And this was a ride my husband and I took. It was about a 3,500 mile ride. It wasn't that big of a deal. But it was late at night. We were heading from the California Central Coast over to Grand Canyon? Or was it Yellowstone? I don't remember. I think it was Yellowstone. They have the geysers, right? Yeah, it was Yellowstone. And it was for a family reunion. So my husband's aunt and uncle loaded up all of our camping gear in their motorhome. And so we just got on our bikes. I had my teenage daughter with us. And we decided to ride through the desert at night because during the day it was too hot. It was just too hot. So we would get to a hotel at about 3 in the morning and just check out. We'd do a late checkout and not spend as much time in the sun. But we were going through the desert. It was pitch black, stars in the sky. It was a beautiful starry night, but you couldn't see anything except the watch out for elk signs. I'm going the speed limit. I'm going 75. It's pitch black. I can see my husband's taillight in front of me. I can see the little markers on the side of the road, right? I can see the stripe down the middle, but I couldn't have seen a moose. And then my bike starts to wobble. Just at about 75, my bike started to wobble. Excuse me, pardon me. I had stolen my husband's motorcycle by then. No. Yes, I had stolen my husband's motorcycle. I hadn't bought the other one yet. That's right. I stole his motorcycle when I was riding a Honda. Oh, anyway, okay, I got my timeline wrong. All right, so I backed way off. I think I slowed down to about 65. It stopped the wobble because I had what's called a T-pack on the back where there would be a passenger, and it was packed with, we had 3 people on motorcycles, and we were going on a 6 or 7 day trip. I don't remember, maybe longer. So we did have a lot of clothes. We had some food and water, things like that on the bike. So I had a T-pack. That puts your center of gravity up a little bit higher. And on a motorcycle, the higher your center of gravity is, the less stable you are. So even though I have the body of a female, I only weigh about $120. I don't weigh very much. So I'm not like a big boned, heavy hipped gal. So my center of gravity is pretty low. I just don't really have a center of gravity. I'm very thin. I had saddlebags and they had stuff in them, but my T-pack made me unstable. So I did start to do the wobble, and then I saw the watch out for elk signs, and I thought, well, I couldn't even handle a rabbit, really, at that speed. A rabbit would have caused me to wreck. So I slowed way down. My husband eventually noticed that my light had gotten further and further back, so he slowed down, and we pulled over, and I told him, I'm just really nervous going this fast on this dark road with wandering elk. It could have been a mule deer, an elk, an armadillo, a skunk, or a squirrel. I think I could probably ride through a squirrel and be okay. But anything bigger than a squirrel, a coyote, good gosh, out there, a wolf, I don't know. Anyway, that was kind of scary, but nothing happened. So you can relax, William Barry, nothing happened. Yes, big dog, I would have eaten it. Actually, I used to, we used to have a lot of rattlesnakes in California. I skinned them and we ate rattlesnake. Rattlesnake does not taste like chicken. It does have the consistency of a rubber band. So you have to chop it real fine. And then I add taco seasoning, and we would eat rattlesnake tacos. I would mix it about half beef, half rattlesnake, but I hated wasting them. We had to kill them. We had one trying to get in our sliding glass door one day. We had one right by our back door in our garage. We had one right next to the big garage door, several in our garden, one at my front door, multiple in my backyard garden. We had a dog get bit twice. He survived both. We had a baby goat get bit in the face. She survived. We had a duck get bit by a rattlesnake in her throat. She survived. But I didn't like having vipers on my property, so I did kill the rattlesnakes. California has no shortage of rattlesnakes. There's one more story, then I've got to get back to the drag strip because they're drying the dragway right now. We had a huge torrential downpour, but they've only got about 30 minutes left of racing. We are in the final elimination. I want to make sure I get them and post them on my YouTube. You got bit by a rattlesnake? Oh my gosh, William. No, big dog, I never got bit. I danced one time. I was on top of a rattlesnake. It was probably a 4.5 foot rattlesnake, big fat guy. And it was all curled up in the shade. And my dog walked over and was just staring. And I thought, what's he looking at? So I walked over to the grass. It was in the shade, so the snake wasn't quite as ready as it would have been if it had been really, really hot. It was in the tall grass, green grass, so it was very cool. I saw that snake when I was about 1 foot away. That sucker could have struck me at 6 feet away, probably. No, at about 3 feet away, it could have struck me. I felt like something grabbed me by my shoulders and picked me up. I danced back so fast, and I hollered to my husband, bring me a shovel. So we took care of that one. Dang, William Barry, getting bit and having your slipper save you. Were they fuzzy slippers? I have more motorcycle stories to tell, but I have to get to the racetrack. I'll be posting more short videos. These are junior dragsters. The snake didn't rattle. Standing like, you know what? Oblivious is, they don't always rattle. They really don't. I have probably 24 snake skins in a bag somewhere in my basement that I would really love to turn into some kind of a project. I don't normally kill wildlife. I kill vipers and I kill black widows. And if I ever see a violin spider, gone. I don't like things that are going to kill me or my grandchildren or my pets. So I don't put up with them. And yeah, one time, okay, one more rattlesnake story. We have something called either green Mojave or Mojave green rattlesnakes. They're very aggressive and they are greenish colored. And I was at the river on our ranch. This was in California. And my daughter was next to me and she was pregnant. My son-in-law was in the river with his daughter, I think. I don't think his sons were there. I think it was just his daughter. And he said, "Hey, is that a snake?" It was a green Mojave or Mojave green coming toward us in the grass and sand. And it was one of the only times I did not take my sidearm. I have a little 380 Smith & Wesson bodyguard that I carry with me almost all of the time. Unless I'm going to an airport or a courthouse or a school, I've almost always got my 380 in my holster. I didn't have it with me. I didn't have a shovel. I just had to kind of annoy it with a stick. I mean, it was just the most ridiculous thing. But that snake was going to come right to me. Or my daughter. She was pregnant with my granddaughter, who I love very much. No, we did not want to go through that. You have Mojave greens. Is that the one that bit you? God, good for you with cheap Chinese slippers. Here's to Temu slippers, man. They saved you from a probably lost foot. Dang. Marco, thank you. I feel beautiful. I put on makeup today. Can't tell. I'm makeup illiterate, but I didn't want to come on here with... I felt like I slept upside down last night like a bat. I woke up this morning. I didn't even recognize my face. So I put my dark glasses on and went to church. We had chapel this morning. I know it's Saturday. We had chapel. And I didn't even take my dark glasses off. Who is putting hearts? Thank you. Thank you for the hearts. That's awesome. Mojave greens. I think I might have a skin of a Mojave green. That one got away. A reddish color. Huh. Well, probably good it wasn't a Mojave green. It might have been able to go through those cheap Chinese slippers of yours. I'm glad you had rubber slippers though. Oh, God, right? Oh, the smell. Maybe the smell is what stopped it from hitting your foot. All right, guys, I have to go. There are 8 of you in here. Thank you to the 9 who hit the thumbs up. I appreciate that. This really did change. We started out with zoo stories, blood, urine, and alligators. And then we moved into motorcycle stories, and now we're talking rattlesnakes. I'll have to do a live feed just about my rattlesnakes at some point because I do have a lot of rattlesnake stories. And I have a rattlesnake video on here. It's a really old one from like 9 or 10 years ago. And it's the one that was trying to get in our sliding glass door one day. I'll tell that story too sometime. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Subscribe if you want to see more silliness like this, or if you're into drag racing. Go ahead and share my videos if you want to. I would love for you to come back to a live, so hit the bell for notifications, and we can chat again. Thank you. Thank you for those of you who told your stories. I appreciate that. I loved hearing about the monkey poo and the rattlesnake. And if there was anybody else, I apologize for not remembering your story. I'm going to say goodbye and head down to the dragway because the kids ages 6 to 17/18 are doing their finals right now. This is it. It's the Eastern Conference Finals. It's in Bristol, Tennessee. And I'm headed that way because I want to get them. I want to get the winner's circle, and I'll be posting a bunch of videos in the next 3 or 4 days. It will mostly be that. I might post some goat and duck videos. I'm not sure. And I might post some gardening videos, but I have a wide range of things that I record, mostly just my life. You guys have a great rest of your day, rest of your weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.